ourselves to each other. Corey. And I'm kind of helping with Bruno here run this whole effort. And we are both in Mexico City at the moment, although I am typically a resident of Portland, Oregon for the time being. Yeah.
Well, I'm Bruno. I'm here in Mexico City where I live, and I'm helping Corey run all of this. Left.
Okay, Annika.
So, Annika, your
Annika, are you ready to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Annika. I'm in currently not so sunny Tacoma, Washington, outside of Seattle. Good morning.
Nadia?
Good morning to all of you. It's evening in Berlin. It was a very sunny day.
And Sleepy Fred.
Hello, everybody. My name is Fred. I work on the Ziji console and especially on the communications team to help communications and digital media and promotions and all that kind of stuff for Ziji in general. And we'll be helping with that during the summit as well. Yeah, and I live in New Orleans, Louisiana, in the United States for the most part.
Oh, hi. I'm in London. I'm working with Lou. I don't know what to say, really. I'm having trouble with my internet connection, so I keep moving around.
All right, process of elimination. Guess who?
Howdy, folks. I'm Alex. I'm calling in from Santiago, Chile, where I will be living for 11 more days. So I'm planning on launching back into space pretty soon here. I am working with the financial dimension of the summit, trying to make sure that we have everything clear and happening to be able to get everybody here and deal with the financial aspect of all of that. So that's my role. Oh, and I also wanted to say thank you, Annalie, for the bird song accompaniment.
Oh, you can hear that. Well, it's like the first day of sun in England and everyone's just gone crazy because we don't have a lot of sun. So we're all outside.
Cool. Glad to have everyone here. And I'm guessing we might be joined by a couple others who will hop in as we go. But we can go ahead and get started. Yeah, so, I mean, what this call is can everyone hear me all right? I want to make sure that this volume of voice is audible whilst not being too loud. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Good. Maybe we can speak a little closer to the mic because I don't want to talk too loud, as I said, since there's a program going on. So this call is ostensibly the subject is kind of communication and promotion at the summit. It's kind of the first of what we're hoping to be several or many calls and discussions about how to make the summit happen. So we've had up until at the same time we had the last month, we had visioning calls where we had where we were kind of just discussing what our vision for the event would be and what we'd like to see. And then and there's still some room if you. I think a couple of you didn't get to maybe be in those. And I don't know if Najia, you got to be in one, maybe, right? I saw you in one.
If I got what?
In the visioning calls that we had.
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay.
Gotten in.
So there'll still be opportunities to kind of provide your kind of your input. There's I don't know if the two of you have seen, there's a survey on the summit with the Ziji Summit website, which is just zgcollective.com/summit. And then also there might be some more kind of visioning-ish calls later on. But for right now, the idea of this call is that we're kind of just talking about how to make it happen. Yeah, so I think that we're inviting you all to the conversation. We are going to be, looking for help as well. But I think that, that's kind of self-selecting. We're hoping that people will be willing to volunteer, and we might have some specific things that we might see if people are interested in helping us with. But at the same, just being here to participate is great, and it's we're happy to have people kind of provide their voices. So that's that. So I think we were going to kind of introduce the areas that we're working on right now at the moment, and we kind of did that slightly. Like Alex mentioned, that he's heading kind of finance for the summit, which is kind of largely about Is there anything else you want to say about that, Alex?
Corey, before you go, is anybody taking notes on this? I wouldn't mind, but I'm worried I'll leave before it's over.
It would be good if someone could. Donica, are you waving paper at us to say yes? Cool.
I'm not really good at taking notes on a Google Doc, but I can write my notes up later if you want.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I think it's easier than me trying to.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sure, I'm happy to start. I sort of volunteered to take the position of Chagzo, or treasurer, for the upcoming summit, because I'm really excited about attending. And I've been living in Santiago, Chile the last 9 months, where I've connected with the really vibrant young Sangha scene here at the center in Santiago. And we've been talking about getting some Chileans to the summit ever since maybe February. And as we're starting to realize kind of the amount of work and coordination and energy that goes into doing that, it's clear that there are people all over the world who are coming to the summit are going to need to be doing that work. And so I think it's important to start helping each other out, share energy, connect to sort of see how other people are doing it. And also, the most important thing for me is to clearly communicate the vision for this summit as something that we're making sure that it's as inclusive as possible. And that means actually developing some ways of dealing with money that make sure that people don't self-select out because they're afraid that they can't afford it. And so what I've been looking at, and I've been having some great conversations with various people about this over the last couple of weeks. Lou Watkins in the UK sent me a really interesting model that I'm going to steal some language from, I think, which is called freelygivenretreats.org. And this group in the UK, it's affiliated with Insight Meditation, that has a whole system for having their retreats being free to participants, but basically trusting the generosity of the participants and their communities to be enough to support the costs of putting on the program. And so that's sort of the model that I'm thinking about working with, in terms of this summit being something that is going to cost us in total about 13,000 euros to put together, between the cost of the space and flying out the teachers and housing the teachers, in terms of our collective costs for putting on the summit. And then individually, participants are also going to, obviously need to stay somewhere and and get themselves there. So what I'm trying to do is to kind of build a structure that can be transparent and communicate with anyone who has a genuine aspiration to attend, to help them do the work, and help us share the work collectively, and collectively take responsibility for making sure that this event, from a financial perspective at least, is inclusive and sort of invites all the generosity that we can into it, because we don't have, as Ziji Collective, we don't have like a bank account, for example. We don't have like regular revenue streams or ways that we can do it any other way, really. So yeah, so I'm really looking forward to seeing it unfold, and if anybody else feels sort of inspired around that particular dimension of things, I'd love to talk more with them about it.
Yeah, great, Alex. So Bruno and I have been kind of up until now holding the fort, and are kind of starting to, invite people in, and we're just like Alex kind of invited, and he kind of proposed this Chagzu idea, and we brought him into the group. And I think our main focus is, like, over the next few months will be really trying to make sure we have as representative of a group of people as possible. So we're going to try and establish some contacts with Shambhala centers that we currently don't have contact with, both in Europe but also globally, and really kind of encourage this idea that Shambhala centers could help sponsor people to come to the event as a real leadership training, because we think that summits are real kind of quantifiable leadership trainings, and that people who come they tend to like give a lot of energy for people to get engaged with Shambhala in their local communities and help them out. So we're going to be trying to do some contacts with center directors, and also just kind of try and help in all areas. I think we're leading this ground team for the event. Because our kind of other job besides helping the summit is that Bruno and I are the co-chairs of the Ziji Global Council. And then the other kind of group or team that's working on this event that isn't in this call is the teaching team, which is headed by Shastri Trinley Busby. And that team is going to be the teachers for the event, and they're going to handle kind of the planning of the programming for the event. So like what's going to happen within the event, but that's very like open to input, and that's part of why we've had those visioning calls that we had, and there's more opportunities for input, including the survey, because one of the key things I think about Ziji summits is that it's relevant to what's going on in the place it's in and in the time it's in for everyone and for the attendees who are coming. So that effort is ongoing. Yeah, and then I don't know if actually I have an open question about so that's our role. Is there anything else? Yeah,
Keep going. Doing it great.
Okay. Yeah, and we're still like, there might be some more like right now you can just think of Bruno and I as a two-headed monster, but there might be some more like clear separation soon about what's he's doing and what I'm doing. We've decided that we need to figure that out, but we haven't yet. Yeah, and then I think the kind of other kind of group or team that's formed is this idea of communications for the summit, and I'm not sure. Fred, you have to tell me what's come with that.
Yeah, let me pipe up. So I lead communications for Ziji as a whole, and we recently talked, Corey, Bruno, and Alex and myself, and one of the things I mentioned is that that Annika, who works on the communications team, might be actually a very, very good person to actually lead communications for the summit as a specific process. So we have a roadmap for the promotions and the communications that need to happen basically between now and the summit. It will need more detail, and it would be good or great to add stuff to it, but it's pretty detailed and it's pretty well thought out. And so what I would like the leader of the kind of communications and promotions effort for the summit to do is to make sure that we have a just a structure for what needs to happen and when, and then to make sure that it happens. So, for example, if I flake out on something, that person would follow up with me. And I talked to Annika about taking on that role, and she said, Annika, please chime in if I'm paraphrasing for you too much, but basically that she might be interested in doing it, but she wants to know kind of with us in this room what the role looks like and exactly what the responsibilities are. But what I do want to do is go ahead and paste in the sort of communications team, the communications kind of plan itself, just so when you guys want to, if and when you guys want to look, you can see what the work's going to entail more or less. So yeah, I believe that I'll be working on communications. I think there's a good chance that it'll actually be led by Annika. But that's something that we do need to figure out kind of in this meeting in terms of what the real sort of responsibilities are there. Great. And I think that would be a great time to do that if you do.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the subject of the meeting and something we should dive into. I think the one thing we wanted to do before we dove into that was just kind of invite any feedback about what are we missing. I mean, like, I think the only thing that wasn't mentioned that's being done for the planning of the event is that, as Nadja knows, we have some folks in Berlin who are helping. They help they help us find a space, which we now have, and then there's also going to be the efforts to help in various other areas, including maybe trying to help people find housing, whether it's a hostel or whatever it is, and then also kind of the preparation for the event. But I think that I just wanted to open up a space for a little bit to see kind of what's missing in people's minds, and if there's things that need to be included that aren't, or could be elaborated upon, or questions. And this is an open thing, so we can happen now. If it's something you think of after the meeting, that's great, and we'll continue to ask this question because we need to continue to think about what we're missing.
Not to hope this may be frivolous, but the actual sort of timeline of what happens during the summit itself, like, on this morning, Nick is going to give this talk. On this afternoon, we have lunch at a restaurant. Where is that located currently?
I think that all of that will be handled mostly by the teaching team, or that's how it was done previous year. And hopefully we can, before the summit, start giving a little bit of the idea of how that's going to look. But that's a little bit of what the teaching team does.
Nadja, I saw you were talking, but I think you were muted.
I was talking, but my microphone was off still. So I was still a little bit irritated, but I realized that. What I said was, I think the Berlin team is happy to support everything. We just have to take into consideration that the Berlin team is really small. We're now about like 5 people or something like that. Just for you as an additional information. And there was some other thing I wanted to say. Yeah, it's good that you sent us that we can all see your plans for communications. Yeah, I also take a look at it and give you some feedback or whatever. It looks good on the first look, so.
And there's going to be more sharing, I think, of kind of general plans. We actually have a Trello set up for the summit, which is Trello is like a kind of a work management tool that you can kind of task management tool. I think we need to revise it a little bit before we share it out, but we'll do that and then share it out to everyone, and that'll have kind of really most of what's going on for the summit. So I think that's one of our goals, is to be like pretty transparent about this, partially so it can help us kind of see what's missing and also work together.
Yeah, and maybe it's also good like to get the Berlin perspective on it, because I see, has anyone been in Berlin from you guys yet? Okay, and I thought maybe it would be also nice for you to give you an idea of Berlin. I mean, you all have an idea of Berlin, that's pretty obvious, but still to get a, you know what I mean, basically. Yeah.
But
maybe not now, but someone else. Yeah. Because I also, it just, so like you had in the last newsletter or something, you had a picture of Museumsinsel, which is really nice, was a really nice picture. And, but the thing is, where for example, the place we hired for, it's really cool, but it's a completely different part of Berlin. So we don't want to have create false expectations. But we can prepare something to show you different parts of Berlin, so we have a more diverse view we can communicate to the people, for example, if you'd like to.
That's great. Yeah. Alex, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I think I completely agree. I think that's fantastic, and it's great to hear that there's some energy around doing that. And I think what I'd like to suggest is that we figure out just how that communication is going to happen. And I think one thing, what seems to be emerging right now, is this idea of kind of a planning team that has somewhat regular contact with each other, that's each responsible for a different area. And so I think having a local arrangements team that has someone that sort of reports directly to the planning team about what's going on in Berlin, or if you get together and have a little, like you said, a presentation about giving us an idea of what Berlin is about, you could send that to the planning team, and we would know exactly how to get that out. So you wouldn't have to worry about distributing it, you just have to worry about producing it. So I think that would be the way to do that communication.
Yeah. No, that was my thought.
An idea that Corey just mentioned that might be good for that is recording a little video, just talking about it might be really good and an easy way to share it with people.
Another thing that occurred to me that we might want to think about sort of making some space for in our kind of Maha planning is, it's kind of funny that the sort of the roles that kind of came up, I feel like they fit pretty closely with the Shambhala pillars, the governance. You've got your economy, and you've got your practice and education, and the fourth one is protection. And that made me think about what how we want to think about sort of bringing the Kasang principle into how we're organizing this. So that might be something that one of us, I know Bruno is a badass Kasang, for example, wanted to take some do some thinking around, or some delegating around, or have some kind of Kasang presence this year. I don't know about, but it was something that definitely came to mind as this team is kind of self-organizing itself in this moment.
I will have to think a little bit about it, but my feeling right now is how this is emerging as a self-selected organizing team, that if we find that energy or someone to really manifest that energy, will be good. But in general, cousinship has to do with how we frame ourselves, how we're from where we're talking, where we are doing things. So in certain level, we're all immersed in the protection aspect of working together. So hopefully someone, I don't think that it will be myself, could take the role of looking deeply in how that energy might manifest in a concrete way. Or for now, we're doing it just by allowing ourselves to speak, and where we speak from is cousinship in action. We're working with body, speech, and mind. So.
I mean, Annalie or Deidre, do you guys have anything to add? Or Annika?
Not really. I mean, I feel like I'm just kind of coming late to this party, and with the Ziji scene in London is quite minimal currently. We just had this youth retreat, which was really nice, but most of the people who came were not even from London. We're trying to start a young Sangha night here, but it's just totally embryonic. So, yeah, I don't really know what I can add other than like, I'm up for being involved and whatever I can do that would be helpful. I'm going to be in America in July and August, so I won't be able to do anything then. But until then, I am available to do anything.
Totally. Yeah, thank you. And I think feel free to be in touch. There's other ways we can kind of, if you want to kind of get updated on everything that's going on, like the calls we had in April, the visioning calls, which are kind of more about like, what is this event? Like, what do we want to do in it? We recorded all those, and we're going to post them all up probably tomorrow. And so you could watch one of those, or just talk to any of us. I think we'd be happy to kind of just show you the ropes. Yeah, great. Deidre?
Yeah, I am in a place of probably not going to the summit. So I'm trying to figure out, and also probably stepping off the communications team soon. So figuring out how to continue to be involved, given that I am largely so occupied because of the energy that I have felt coming out of the summit and how it has served me, and pushed me towards leadership. So I feel very strong positive feelings about the summit, but don't know exactly, beyond telling people about those strong feelings that I have, how I will be able to contribute.
Yeah, that's great. And I think that, one of the things that we've really thought about is that I don't think you're the only person in that boat, Deidre, both in not being able to attend and also having limited time. And so we do want to provide I'd love to find how we can help, have you involved in whatever way you want to be. So we could talk individually, but also if you could have any suggestions. I mean, I think something we need to think about more, because there's other folks who are in that same boat of how can you be involved. So just being in this call is being involved. Appreciate it. Maybe if there's any last thoughts on that, I do want to kind of limit this, as Alex said, the Maha portion of this, so that we can talk about the kind of specifically the kind of promotions communication side, especially since some of us have to go kind of early. So is there any last comments? Annika, I don't know if you had something you were holding.
Oh, I was going to say earlier, I also appreciate, I know that the Berlin team is small, and you're probably seeing that the communications team and all of our other teams are pretty small at this point as well. So it would be really nice to have your perspective as we're sending out communications things, because I think that'll be really important to people who really want to be there. So thank you for bringing that up and offering that, because I think that's very valuable.
Cool. Well, I can't say. I thank you everyone for for all the feedback there, and like I said, there'll be more opportunities. So maybe we can kind of transition in talking about communications and promotion and plan for the event. And I don't know, Fred, if you had a plan to kind of guide us through this, or is it kind of just open conversation now?
What I'd love is to first establish who's going to be in charge. So let me read off what I believe is the role of like running this thing. It's basically that we take the general plan that I shared on that Google Doc, which is a lot of just specifics about how to do outreach between now and the summit, and the person who leads this would be kind of responsible for doing and delegating every piece of that so that it happens between now and the summit. So that means, putting it into a calendar, assigning pieces of it to the calendar, to different people, and having them sort of execute on that. And then if perhaps if something was supposed to happen and it hasn't happened, just following up about that. And just kind of generally holding that whole process and sort of having the organization to kind of make sure that, right, exactly. Well, right. And so we should talk about the manpower side of it, but this is just the leadership side. Yeah, so just generally organizing and sort of overseeing the execution of that process. So what Annika talked about was that we just wanted to make sure that there's nothing being added to that. The description of that is as clear as possible before Annika says yes or no to whether that's something she's got the space for. So who wants to sort of add on to that? Great. So that sounds like that was pretty much like I nailed it.
I mean, I think it sounds pretty good. I mean, I think that like, one of the things I'd love to see and whoever's holding that role is just some kind of like, I don't know, like I think that there's a lot of room for creativity in this area of kind of like there's a lot of I think a lot of ideas have come up already. Not all of them are even captured in this document, I think, and not all of them are going to happen. That's just the nature of the beast. But I think that like both creativity, like in terms of like bringing in ideas and fostering ideas, and also like supporting other people, I think, in bringing in kind of things, because I think we're kind of, I mean, we're kind of forging new ground here, because we haven't really, I don't think a summit's ever been this prepared in terms of communication. I think it's mostly been like we've sent out some emails to people, and so it's like kind of fun in a way. I'm hoping that it's fun. And yeah, that's what I want to say. But it'll be, like I said in my message, it's going to be a collaboratory effort. So Bruno and I will be here to help, and the whole team will be there to help.
Yeah, that was actually another sort of detail that I wanted to maybe add, which is that person would sort of represent the communications team on the planning in the planning meeting. So that means like I would CC that person when I'm sending an email to the planning team, and I wouldn't CC another person on the communications team, right? Like, so that this person would be the person that knows what's going on with the rest of the summit planning team, and can then kind of channel that into the communications workflow as necessary.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I believe this person would be able to sort of delegate any kind of work, whether it was to Bruno and Corey or to whomever, or to people on the present communications team, just in general. So, yeah. So, okay. So, as a good first question, Annika, does that sound like something you have energy for? I know this is kind of putting you on the spot, and I feel like it's one of those things where you ask somebody to marry you on a jumbotron, if they want to say no, they have to just like, it's horrible, but you know, such is life.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm definitely willing to. I think it's pretty clear from that document and all the things that we've been talking about, and I'm willing to be a person who kind of keeps track of it and make sure it all is where it is needed to be. I may ask clarifying questions of various people as things go on, but I think I have energy to do it. So if no one else is interested, I'm definitely game.
Awesome. Yeah,
Do we have a Zoom meeting ritual for like collective celebration dance when something like this happens? I don't know what we do.
Ziji Collective is all about creating new forms, guys.
Yeah, we'll just do like a single jazz hand.
Just one jazz hand. Okay, just one jazz hand.
And especially with you being so tired, Fred, that just seems very like single jazz hand.
Yeah, well, I like.
And more exuberance, double jazz hands.
Yeah, no, yeah. I said single because my other hand is
True.
busy.
Thank you, Annika.
So, okay, Annika, wonderful. So, given that, in terms of like how to talk through just our plans in general in this document, I guess, Annika, I'll let you lead. I know you were in, obviously, that meeting with Sam, so your mind is probably at least as clear as mine is on what there is to do. Yeah, but I would be happy to supplement anything just as you would find out.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really, since you sent this to me this morning, I haven't really looked at it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Incredibly thoroughly, but we can definitely go through it together.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay.
I have a question for Bruno and Corey. Maybe I know that you have that Trello board. Is it possible to make connected communications related boards? Or I don't really know how Trello works.
I don't know. I'll look into it. Yeah, it might be, but I was thinking about that. What the best way to do is whether to have separate boards or kind of one Maha board. That's the word of the day is Maha. Yeah, I'll look into it.
Okay.
Yeah. So should we just sort of dig into the substance of what needs to happen? That's the sort of idea of the remainder of this meeting. Is that right? Okay. So I'll just start talking. Basically, we talked to this woman, Sam Solomon, who lives at Karma Trolling. She's a very good, just has a very good marketing mind, and we just kind of put to her like, hey, what needs to happen to really promote the summit properly? And kind of this is what came out. So just to start with timelines, she thought that really this month, all the way through September, is the time to really start to be ramping this up, because this is the time when people are going to be thinking about buying plane tickets. So if we start now, we're kind of good from a timing perspective. And the general sort of approach that she talked about was making sure that people are made aware in a bunch of different ways, so that they get the news on, let's say, in a week, and okay, that's happening, and then they forget about it, and then they see it in a bunch of different formats on Facebook, and then they see it in their email, and they're reminded often enough that it gives them a chance to sort of really act. So it's kind of an integrated outreach effort that happens across social media, physically sending flyers to Shambhala city centers, and also direct mailings to people who are on kind of the Ziji mailing list, or who have been at prior summits. And yeah, so one thing that she really recommended is that the social media content we can schedule out in advance, so somebody doesn't have to sort of babysit it every day, but we could schedule, say, a month of Facebook posts, which might be 10 posts, or who knows, at the beginning of June, and it just runs all through June. So that's a way she recommended working, so that we can actually chunk up the work and give it to people and it's, you know, an hour of somebody's time, and then they don't have to worry about it. So that was very helpful. The actual content that we use to promote the summit, I think, is somewhat open. So the actual, like the words that we say and the pictures that we use and that kind of stuff, I believe is sort of open. So she really, I think what we have in hand is kind of a way to approach it, which is starting now with regular social media posts that we schedule on in advance, as well as outreach directly to Shambhala centers and outreach directly to Ziji, just existing Ziji people. But the actual sort of what is the day-to-day post going to say and look like, I don't think is established. I guess that's, I don't know. I'd love for anybody else to jump in or ask questions.
So I guess what I'm taking from this is right now what we don't have is actually a timeline or a schedule. So in like without that at this time, what are we hoping to decide from this meeting?
I think starting to
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
And also inviting feedback. I mean, I think if there's like, especially like, I mean, you just mentioned an area of like content on posts, like if anyone has any, I mean, that may, a lot of that development, as it's sounding like, may come after we start to do a little more scheduling, but I think that it's never too early to have a little bit of feedback, especially because not all of us in the meeting might be like super engaged in the scheduling aspect of it. So I'm just kind of inviting all comers.
And one thing I think would also really be helpful is just to understand what people feel like they might be able to offer to this, because the current communications team needs manpower to actually do this. We're short-staffed. So I guess as we figure out the kind of things we're going to be doing, it might be good to ask if that's something that the people in this meeting, would either be comfortable doing, like, hey, I love to write Facebook posts, let's talk, or I know somebody who really is comfortable on social media. So I definitely think there's kind of like just understanding how to get the manpower we need kind of is a big question for me.
I actually have, I would like to help a little bit with uploading videos to YouTube. Like, I feel so far the only videos that I've made, I posted on a personal account, but maybe having kind of like a CG YouTube channel where we can upload like the conversations that we've been having with the visioning calls, and probably, like I was just thinking that when Alex was presenting his view around finance, and then that it's a really good way of letting people know. I could just take that part of him speaking and post it. Could be really good for people to just hear what we're thinking regarding finances. So I might not do all the videos, but I could be a person that could help uploading and refining some of the info on those. So yeah, I feel like videos are one of the best ways. People tend not to read all the big emails on information. Videos can be a really easy to, hey, you want to know what CG Summit will be? Here, a link, watch it. So yeah, I'm gladly helping in that area.
And there might be some kind of room to really think about like what videos do we need. Like you just brought up the idea of like having something that describes the summit. It's like what kind of stuff would be helpful to have on hand for like videos that we could just include in publicity and stuff like that. Yeah, and I also just wanted to say generally that that it's not just us. So we're not having to feel like we have to break up all these tasks between the 7 of us or 8 of us. Like there's other people involved, and we're going to continue to think about ways of getting people involved, which we should talk about. I mean, yeah. So that's that.
I think it's great though that we have kind of a clear idea of like what summit planning, communications planning needs to look like, so we can reach out to people with really specific asks. And you know, based on my time on the communications team before, like I feel like I have a pretty good sense of who's out there, who's like been engaging more with our Facebook page, for example, like people like Court Donner, for example, who couldn't be on this call today, but is really interested in helping. Others, five, I could come up with some other suggestions just based on being who's been the National Ziji Groups page a lot, for some people to target with, you know, specific asks. But if we have specific asks is awesome. I think that will definitely magnetize a little more that kind of energy.
So, yeah, thank you, Alex. To make it a bit concrete, these are the sort of platforms that we identified. And Sam's suggestion was that we have one person who has primary responsibility for that platform between now and the summit. And I guess I'll add, you know, video content. I don't know, that's not really a platform, it's a type of content, but whatever. If maybe what we could do is think about like, oh, do I have energy to hold this between now and the summit, or do I know somebody who I think would? And just to sort of read out what the responsibilities are. Facebook posting is that every probably week, we would just want to put out new content, which might be, say, a video from Bruno, or pictures from last year's summit, or details about the summit, like pictures of the venue, something like that, just to sort of keep it top of mind, probably once a week between now and the summit. And we'd want to sort of schedule that in batches. It could even be, you know, just say 3 hours of work that happens like right now and carries us all the way through the summit. But somebody who was primarily responsible for making that content, and it could actually be a couple of people because I think it might be one of the more intricate and labor-intensive ones. But somebody who feels like, oh, I kind of know how to craft social media content, and I would actually personally really be happy to help with that side of it, with figuring out what content goes out. But somebody who actually writes the stuff and schedules it and makes sure it goes out is kind of, I think, the first platform or the first ask. Yeah, that, I don't know. If somebody is very Facebooky in your life, it might be good to just reach out to them and see if they have energy around this.
And I'll add too, just speaking from personal experience as an Ziji lover and Facebook addict, that having the Ziji collective sort of in my feed has been a really good thing. Just like to have that sort of attention as a part of my like sort of Facebook flow, to like go check the page or see, you know, kind of see who's on that, and like that. Connecting with you all through that, I think brought me a lot of energy. Like helped uplift my sort of general experience and my motivation to keep working with CG. So I think there's like a sort of personal benefit to it too, based on my experience.
You know, and I have a kind of an open question that I don't know if we want to talk about it now or if this is better in another call. But I kind of have a question about best practices in terms of recruiting people. I think this call's ended up, you know, becoming a lot of like kind of the planning, and I think my original idea was that we probably have a few more people and it would be a little more like kind of idea sharing, which is what it is. It's totally okay, and I'm appreciative for everyone for coming. But there's a couple ideas I have of the way we could do this. I think I agree with Fred that like breaking up specific roles might be helpful, and it might be actually good for us to all do that in our specific kind of spheres. And ways we could communicate that, we could easily like, I mean, it might not get a response, but we could easily send that out as like an email or something, being like, hey, do you know anyone who could do these things? You know, we need help. And then we could also do specific invites, like has been mentioned. And then also, I also have the idea of kind of just to add more work onto our plate, but just like maybe continuing these calls, like just keeping this time slot going, so that we could like have more opportunities to invite people in. And I mean, this could be just like our general planning meeting time, this Sunday time, and then we can kind of invite people in that way to get them involved, because it's great to see when we have two new folks who weren't at one of the visioning meetings in April. So it's like there's still people we could kind of bring in through this way, and because I think we still need to meet some new people. I think we could grow our list of people we know who we could maybe like talk to. How does that sound? I guess I'm making a proposal.
It's an interesting idea to me. Corey, I wonder, do you think getting the manpower, I mean, you've pretty much handled that for the overall process. I wonder if that's something that you would have some energy to help with, just strictly on the promotion side. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, totally. I would definitely be willing to help that.
So maybe you and I could work together on that.
Yeah.
And I think what I can contribute at this point, which I hope is helpful to that effort, is to have a really to sort of like Bruno said, kind of a clear vision about what our goals are for the finances, and not just the finances, but also in terms of work, and say that we're making this from scratch, that we're all volunteers, we're all trying to make something out of nothing really, and that it's amazing and beautiful, and once we bring it all together, it's going to be awesome, and we just really need help. I think being really clear about that we just really need help, and not in a way that's like, oh, please help us, we're not going to do it without you, but just like, this is the moment to step forward and join the fun, like Corey said. And so, I'm happy to contribute to that, and however I can in terms of getting the word out.
I think that's really good, Alex. And personally, I feel like a good way to doing it is maybe you and me could work out to make a little video. I like the way you're putting it. I like you to be the one explaining to people, and even the voice you just did might end up in the video.
Please help. Yeah, good. Good.
And the other thing, before Corey takes over, in terms of recruiting people, I feel that's another video that we could maybe take advantage that we're in the same country right now, and that we could make an invitation so people know, like, oh, there's the finance area. If you feel that's something that you would like to, here's a way to contacting us in communication and the different areas. So that might be another way of recruiting people.
And so it sounds like we're to make clear, Bruno and Alex might work on a kind of video to help make that, and then maybe Fred and I, so you guys are going to work on the content kind of, and Fred and I will kind of work on the how do we get that out? What's the best method for doing that? Fred, you said you were interested in helping with that, right?
I can. I thought you and Annika might help. She might just sort of boss for that.
I don't know. Annika, does that sound like something you'd be willing?
Yeah.
Cool.
We can work on that.
And then the thing I'd like to ask of both of you, Annika and Alex, is maybe start thinking about making kind of separating into roles, different things, and maybe also prioritizing your work. So deciding, because I think that it's going to take some time to recruit people. We'll get some people initially here, but then there's going to be some people who will just kind of filter in as we go along, and some people who can maybe take on multiple roles, and some people can do less than what you've provided. So just like prioritizing, deciding what's the most important thing that needs to happen now, And maybe Annika, I think it seems like you need help. I mean, we need to kind of work on a schedule, which we talked
right.
about.
I mean, because this is something that was just brought up to me this morning. Do not have a schedule. I haven't, yeah. I mean, obviously none of us have gotten into that yet, but I think that can develop.
I would like to offer that, Annika, I could help you sort of parse out this document into a schedule, maybe in just a phone call at some later point. I don't know if it would be helpful to have another person on the call for that or not. That's a good question.
I mean, I think it can be open if anyone wants to assist with that. We can set a time to do it.
Okay, so please just follow up with me and we'll find
Okay, I'll put something in Slack about that.
I'm realizing, Fred, that you need to go.
Yeah, I mean, I can stay around for another 5 or 10 minutes if
yeah, and I think maybe we might just wrap up the call there too in 5 or 10 minutes, just because Bruno and I wouldn't hurt for us to get back to the program we're part of, and I'm sure everyone has things to do. So is there any, I don't know, is there anything else that needs to be brought up right now? Anything that's perched from the plan or anything like that?
Thinking about videos and I guess getting back to publicity, it just, the idea came to me that it might also be, a good idea to send videos to center directors as well, because it seems like there's a lot of writing that we're thinking about. And so that might be a good way to put that content in front of people and just have something explained to them in a way that is kind of short form.
Yeah, that's a great idea to try. I'm writing it down on the Google Doc. Annalie and Nadia, I just thought I'd ask, sort of whatever it is, 6 of us have kind of worked together in a lot of ways and times before. I'm just wondering if you guys have any sort of tips for, like, the place we're in is that we need, we want to invite people in to help with the planning of the summit. And speaking for myself, how to make that invitation and how to make it so that people are like, oh, I understand what's being asked of me, and yes, I'm excited to do that. I don't know how to do that. So I'm just curious, given that what we're really doing is saying we're really planning this, we're planning the finances of it, the teaching of it, etc., and we want as much involvement as possible. Like, how do we make that invitation? How would we make it? How would we make it for you, for example? Does the question make sense? It's a little bit odd. It's just like, I don't just want it to be that it's the 6 of us. I would love people to feel like they owned this process, you know. Yeah, I want to jump in, but a lot of this has been my effort trying to get people to know how to jump in, and
Yeah,
it's rather difficult.
yeah, I know what you're saying. I mean, at the moment, I almost feel like I'm not even sure how to jump in myself. Like,
Yeah,
I'm just kind of listening and absorbing and thinking, okay, what could I do? But it doesn't feel completely clear, and so I'd sort of need to know that before I could think about how to get other people, because like I said, there just isn't really anybody else here who's doing the whole Ziji thing that most people don't really know what it is. So I don't know if that makes sense, but like I'm trying to just grasp what it is and what we could ask of people. And then, I mean, I'm sure I have lots of channels that I can communicate with people here. You know, we have some Facebook groups and stuff like that, but yeah, it's a difficult question to answer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with Annalie. Basically, yeah, I agree. But it could, well, but I think it could help to get more concrete in a way, so we know what we are handling. Well, what what it's about, what we're doing, what we're asking people to do, and what kind of people we're looking for, in the sense of what task they should take over, or something like that.
I mean, one idea I was just thinking of, like the group that we had for our retreat in London, that was kind of a Europe group. And we have that as an email group. People were sharing photos. There's kind of like a nucleus of people in that, you know, maybe we need to create that as a group, and magnetize people in that way. Because I think those people are kind of people who could be up for coming and helping.
So you think that group of people might be good to
One
reach out
question.
to once we're able to get very specific about what we're asking?
Yeah. Sorry, say that again. These
Right.
people.
Are you saying that the people you mentioned who sort of planned a prior European summit would be, once we're a little more specific on what we're asking, they might be good people to reach out to?
Yeah, and but if we already, I don't know, do we have a Ziji international group, but is there a group for the summit, like the summit, who's coming to the summit, like join the, I don't know if it's a group or a community or something like that, you know, that people could then join.
Go ahead, Alex.
That's a ridiculously good idea. We need to do that right away. I think just like make a separate group that we say who's planning on coming to the summit or who has an aspiration to attend this summit, because that's actually what I've with the finance piece too, is figure out who some of those people are so that I can let them know, so that they know, so I can let them know what they need to do to start to using the tools that we're starting to build to help them fundraise. But in general, I think it would work the other way too, where those are the same people who are going to have the sort of heart connection to the summit to be able to contribute. And so just identifying those people and having clear ways of communicating with them, I think makes a ton of sense.
In my experiences as well, I've been to 2 youth retreats lately, and they each had a Facebook group, which was really lively with photo exchange, experience exchange, so forth. So it could be a good tool for advertising as well.
Yeah.
And
I have a Slack channel, which is sort of a chat. It's like chat for organizing work. I don't know. That's a little more like functional and a little less social. Have you guys used Slack? And is that close to what? Ooh. Oh, is that close to what you might be talking about? Or it seems like a Facebook group for people who are excited about the summit is pretty much what we're deciding.
Maybe, yeah, like a way to bring them all together, because we had a group for like, I think it's called Ziji London now, but it used to be a group that ran in East London, and we had lots of photos after our retreat on that, and there's a lot of energy around that. So we could like recruit those people and then recruit all your people, and just like to get everybody in one place and like whip up some frenzy excitement. And then I feel like jobs and stuff is going to come out of that, maybe, and then meanwhile we clarify what needs doing, and then suddenly it all explodes into perfect efficiency.
That's a great idea. So does anybody have energy around creating a ZG Summit Berlin Facebook group and magnetizing people to that group?
I
feel
actually
like go ahead.
Yeah, I wondered if this could be accomplished in the group that exists, or if it would be alienating, which is something else that I could see. But that has, I mean, a group of people that is there, of people, many of whom have been to previous summits, and if having the conversation in that space with so many people might be, and encouraging more people to join that space might be a solution, an alternative solution.
But the Ziji Collective International group we have right now is a closed group, right? It's not like we could just have anybody in that, or is that a choice, or are you suggesting to open that out? Or?
Yeah, there's
a really long discussion about how to handle that in terms of it used to be more for people who had attended the previous summits, I think, and now it's a closed group for people, and I think there's not really a criteria for who's approved to enter it. It's just if you have been involved and know what it is and are requesting, I think it's pretty much you're in. But maybe we could create an event instead of creating like
Event is a good
create,
one, yeah.
because it would have the date and you could say, are you attending?
Yeah.
And it would be linked to the group. And that way you could be interested, or you could be attending or not attending, and you could still be connected to it.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
That's really good. Yeah, event is good.
Now, do you
Okay.
Does that, I kind of got the end of what you were saying, Deidre. Does that clarify that problem, or I wasn't sure exactly what you were.
Yeah,
I get what you
think that. I hesitate to create more groups and then people are already involved in this group and their own local Ziji group, and then there's a Ziji Summit group that's separate. On first thought, it seems that an event could be a good solution to that, but I'm just hesitant to create more groups for a one-time thing.
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
Yeah, I really like the event idea too, and I think I agree that it could be something that maybe gets regularly posted. The event gets sort of regularly posted with an update into the Ziji International group. And the other thing, though, that I think is important that Annalie pointed out at the beginning, her point is that we need to figure out a way to gather the European energy to make this happen, because most of the energy, the sort of push at the beginning, has been coming from those of us who have attended summits previously, and there have been very few Europeans at those summits. So I think the pitch that we need, or a part of the pitch that we need sort of in the next step, like in the next week or so, is like, to the young leaders in Europe, like, make the Ziji Collective yours. Like, this is yours. We're giving it to you. Like, we want, because at least from my perspective, like, I want the energy to be coming more from Europe than from anywhere else for this. It doesn't make sense for it makes sense for the experience and the vision and the connections and the resources that we're able to bring to bear to help make it happen come from where it's happened before. But I think that the sort of passion and energy needs to come from Europe. And so how we get that sort of feedback is I think the core challenge to developing what we need sort of in terms of force to kind of get things going.
Well, just to sort of concretize this into tasks, it sounds like we're excited about creating an event that's part of the Ziji group. And that seems like it should be a first step, because that's kind of a public place where we can magnetize everybody to one place. Mm-hmm. So we'll need somebody to do that. What else did I write down? Then there's the question of doing outreach to European sort of young meditation leaders, particularly the ones who have, like, that nucleus of people that you mentioned, Annalie. Inviting them to the event and the group if they're not members, and trying to sort of and having at that point concrete things that we can actually ask people to do, where it's like, can you physically do this? I think those are the three kind of tasks that so far came out of this. Does that sound right?
Mm-hmm. I'm happy to get involved in making an event. I feel like what I need is I need like copy about what it's going to be, because I still feel a little bit like on the fringe of that because I wasn't in any of the other calls. But I also think it could be helpful for all of us to have, like, I don't know if this exists, but some like really good written copy about what this whole thing is and what's going to happen and who's involved and stuff. So
that's a very good point. And I think Sam mentioned that we should have standard copies so that we're not reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
And we've done a bit of that, but there could be more work to be done. And just to clarify the contact, maybe Annalie, if you want to be in touch with Annika.
Yeah.
And Annika, maybe could you post your email address? And then we'll be all kind of collectively in touch about kind of working on that. But I think that it makes most sense that Annika's your girl.
So for the
and there's that.
Cool.
I also just pasted in the paragraph from the summit page, which is the first step.
Thank you.
That you're welcome to use and tweak.
Yeah. So please go ahead, Nadja.
Yeah. A question regarding this is what kind of photos can we use? Do we use, where do we get them from? Because even for this Facebook event, we will need a nice photo.
Yeah.
We have.
And what do we want to communicate with those photos?
Mhm.
Because they actually tell more than probably the texts.
The stuff you had from Mexico is really great. You know, if there was like a Dropbox folder or something where people could just put in like photos or videos or copy, or you could all share, and then maybe would that be helpful to kind of create a picture of what we're doing?
Yeah, that's
like a simple thing, like that's kind of just like a little banner thing that we have on the website and stuff like that. But I think the question you're bringing, Nadia, like, is that really representing the event the way we want to represent it? Because I think we just kind of found like, hey, pretty generic picture of Berlin. Put text on top, which is like, it worked in a pinch, but if there's more energy to talk about that,
maybe we can all think about.
Yeah. And I think
about what we want to communicate about Berlin, what kind of picture we want to show the people.
If those of you who are already invested in working on this from Berlin could offer some suggestions in the next few days, that would be super helpful. You know, so if any photos, like even photos of the 4 or 5 of you around a table, like, you know, or like in front of the venue, or like, you know, some photos of the venue. I don't know, but that kind of thing at this point would be super helpful too. I think it would really be good for kind of magnetizing.
It would be really great if you could get some images that capture the energy of Berlin and what is specific about having it in Europe or something, you know, because when I was in Berlin, you know, it has such a specific vibe and it's got all this freshness, and that's why the Sakyong wants to have the headquarters there. And it's like, can we capture that in images and also maybe in design? Like I don't know anyone particularly who can do stuff like that, but if you could just have like a nice little design thing, logo or whatever.
It sounds like to me that the things that we're really going to need to kind of like ask people for is like to be able to create original content from their perspective also. So I think when you guys, the really good point that you guys brought up of like, we need to clarify what we need. I think a lot of what we're going to need is like people's aspirations about why they're coming, and people making videos about their perspective, and people like, cause I think as this group of people here have people have heard from us a lot about coming to the summit, but I think they would probably react well if they heard from like other people, like Alex mentioned Court or something, maybe see if we can get him to make a video from the Abbey or like stuff like that, or if you guys can make any like just text or anything, I think is what we're going to probably end up needing to ask people is like, can you just provide us with things that will give people inspiration to come?
And
we'll kind of, I mean, Annika.
So that would be really helpful, especially if you guys from in Berlin want to let us know how you think we should portray it, would be definitely.
Yeah.
If you need help with that, I can maybe help. I mean, I'm not in Berlin, but I'm not far.
Yeah, but you know it anyway.
But I mean, I made a video we had this festival in London in 2013, and we made a really cute video, like interviewing people and stuff, and it had a real energy to it. That kind of thing could be really great if there's a few of you who could do something like that.
Yeah. Could you send me the video just for as an example?
Oh, sure. Yeah. It's hilarious. I will send it to you.
Yes, please. Nadia, can you type your email address into the chat? I don't think I have your email address. So I want to make sure I can follow up with you.
Maybe Anwar, you could do the same thing, just so we.
What? Oh, yeah.
And yeah, great. So maybe I don't know. Does this Nadia, like, maybe you can? I mean, certainly you can be in contact with Bruno and I, but also maybe Annika would make sense. And do you have a clear idea? I think maybe the first step really is like if you guys in the next like week could find some photos that really represent well that we could make that we could use, that would be a great first step. And then we could kind of together work to clarify some other things like a video or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. But I would also find it really good if you thought about your picture of Berlin, or do some research. What do you find out about Berlin? What is your idea of Berlin? Just a brainstorming thing. Why did you choose Berlin?
Why did we choose Berlin?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we chose Berlin because we mostly because Lou proposed it.
And Phoebe too. Don't forget Phoebe was there.
Sure, Phoebe, exactly. Yeah.
And Phoebe had such a I don't know. She had a great presence at the summit, and a conversation kind of started to arise among it was Phoebe and Lou and Ree, I believe, who attended the summit from Europe, who were sharing some of the challenges that the youth group was having in Europe, and I think that and also the great things that are happening there and some of the energy. And I think because we've started, I guess, to develop this ethos of like kind of looking where else to go, like where do we go next, where else do we need to take this, who else can we include and invite, that Europe seemed like the place. And that, you know, like Annalie mentioned, that it really connects with the Sakyong's vision for fortifying the Dharma in Berlin and all that. So
yeah, and that's definitely like an element too, was this idea of supporting Berlin, because I mean there are sanghas and places with larger youth sanghas in Europe. Like we easily could have probably put it in Amsterdam and there would have been a lot of youth sangha, but like this kind of idea that it doesn't have to go in a place where it's like the path of least resistance, but rather like putting it in a place where also we can kind of like maybe help create something like we did in Mexico City last year. It was kind of helping create, because Mexico City has a pretty small group as well.
Just wanted to add that Berlin also has this reputation of being really arty and creative, and it's got this great thriving music scene, and it's really spontaneous and stuff is emerging, and that should be part of what we portray, I think, because that's really appealing to everyone, especially young people. We all want to get involved in that kind of stuff. Yeah. So that's how I think about Berlin. Everyone's moving to Berlin to do cool stuff. So
yeah,
let's do that.
Great. Well, I think we need to make Fred. I think I'm just saying we're probably about to wrap it up. I think Bruno and I
would like that, but I have a question. And my question is, how do we communicate with each other going forward? Do we use the Summit Slack channel, or do we use email, or what do we do?
I think it makes sense to make a new Slack channel for Summit preparation.
Can we just use the Summit Slack channel?
We can do that for right now, and if it clouds up the two, then we can use that. And then so let's do that right now.
Okay, sorry. Are you guys comfortable with Slack?
I don't know what that is, but I'll join it.
Okay, I'll send you guys an invite and an email that also explains the invite, and I'll do that right after this.
Cool.
Okay, and we'll be, maybe just to say the four, Annika, Alex, and the two of us, the four horsemen of the Ziji apocalypse. We'll just be in touch, and maybe the four of us might find a time to meet sometime this week.
Could the four of us maybe stick around for 15 minutes?
No, we gotta go.
No? Oh, that's right. You guys have to split. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I'm happy to do that.
Let's talk. I mean, I think that we all have our own efforts to do from this call, but we could correspond some more, especially in terms of thinking about if we want to have another call like this next weekend, how we're going to continue to do this. So let's be in touch. Okay. We bowed in, so let's bow out. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. This was really helpful, I think. There's a lot of great ideas, and I'm looking forward to continuing to talking with all of you. So,
nice to meet you, Annalie and Nadia.
Nice to meet you too.
Nice to see you guys.
Bye.
Yes.